Now, when you double click on any bolt, the bolt dialog box comes up in COMOSYS. And in this dialog box, one of the first things you see is the idea of a bolt assembly. And this is usually, this needs some explanation. If you see there are these three, this button over here, if you click on it, it will take you to a place where you can select a different bolt assembly if you want. So this video is about explaining what a bolt assembly is, how you can create your own bolt assemblies, and also talk a little bit about the bolt database. Now, as I said, the bolt assembly option over here has this icon on the right-hand side, this button on the right-hand side, and you can, by clicking on it, it'll take you to the selection of the bolt assembly. And there will be some assemblies which are provided off the shelf. Now, what you can do is you can create your own assembly as well. But first, let's talk about what an assembly is. An assembly is basically a set of standards which will be used together in the bolt group. And what this means is, because obviously a bolt group is not just a bolt, it's a bolt, it's a certain number of washers, and it's also composed of some nuts and possibly a counter nut as well. The washers can be on the side of the material which is touching the head of the bolt, or the washers could be on the other side. So there's this idea of the bolt itself. So in this A1 assembly, for example, you are telling it that the A1 assembly consists of bolts which are belong to the standard of 7990. That will be the dimensional standard of the bolts over here. Now, as far as the first washer is concerned, this little icon over here represents the first washer on the left-hand side of the actual material through which the bolt is passing. This washer will be basically touching the bolt head, and this washer will be of the standard 2041 in this particular assembly. And then there will be washers on the other side of the material, and they will have the same standard, or they could have a different standard as well. Then you would have a nut, and the nut standards are given over here. And you could possibly have a counter nut as well, or a second nut as well. And this would be belonging to whatever standard you choose over here. Now, I forgot to mention there's a washer after the material, and then there's another washer. So there are two washers after the material. The first one is basically the one which comes as the washer, but this one is representative of either one or more than one washers, which could possibly come not because they're needed from any structural point of view, but because they're needed in order to tighten the nut, and that has to do with the thread length of the bolt. So if your bolt length is such that it becomes impossible to tighten the nut with the given bolt length, then COMOSYS would be in a situation where it has to enforce extra washers to make sure that the thread goes in. The thread needs to at least get to the inside the washer so that the nut can be tightened. So this is a geometric requirement. You will basically, normally you would be defining one washer, but you will also be defining these subsequent washers in case they are needed. They might not always be needed, but if they are needed, then you're just defining the standard of those washers over here. So this is what an assembly is. An assembly is just a group of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 standards. And like I said, you can create your own assemblies and then use them in your model. Now the next question would be, how do I create my new assemblies? And for that, you go to the Tools menu and you go to the bolts database over here. And when you click on that, you will see that there are 4 tabs. The first tab is for bolt assembly. The second tab is for bolts. The third one is for nuts. And the fourth one is for washers. These 3 are basically what the elements inside an assembly. And an assembly is composed of a bolt, it's composed of certain washers, and it's composed of certain nuts. So here on the left-hand side, we have the actual assemblies. Now over here, as you can see at the bottom right, you can either create it. So you just give a new name, for example, just like we have these existing assemblies. Just give a completely new name, call it XXX or whatever, and choose the standards which you want for the bolt and for the first washer and for the second and subsequent washers and for the first nut and any counter nut if needed. And then say just new bolt assembly, and that new bolt assembly will be created in the list over here. You can delete any existing one. You could just select an assembly and say delete bolt assembly, or you could edit a bolt assembly in the sense that you could change the standards of an existing assembly and modify it. Once you've created an assembly, another requirement might be that you want to change some bolts or add some bolts. So for example, if you go to the bolts database, you see that there are hundreds of bolts over here, and on the right hand side, whenever you select a bolt, on the right hand side you have information about this selected bolt. So it's telling you that this particular selected bolt belongs to the standard 2063. The diameter is 4 millimeters. There's weight, there's thread length, there's washer tolerance, additional distance. This is the amount which it juts out after the which needs to jut out once you've tightened the nut, at least 1.2 millimeters, and then the length and the top thickness, etc. Basically geometric properties. And you have a variable called availability, whether you want to tell COMOSYS that this bolt is available in the market or not. And if you come down, you see that all these bolts are of the standard 2063, but as you keep going down, you will see at a certain point the standard will change. So now we can come to this whole group called with the standard 2064. And you see the bolts starting off 6 millimeter bolts over here, and then 8 millimeters, 10 millimeters, 12 millimeters, 14 millimeters, still 2064, going down, still 2064. You can go further down, and now you get to 325. This is a different standard, starting from M12, 12 millimeter bolts, going down all the way to whatever the highest size is. Then you get to a new standard 6914. And what you can do is you can, let's say you wanted another bolt in the 325 standard list. So the maximum over here is a 32 millimeter bolt, and the whatever the sizes are given over here, and the length is 203 millimeters. Let's say you wanted to add a bolt with a length of 220 millimeters. All you would need to do is just write those numbers down over here and say new bolt, and that one would be added to that list over there. You can delete an existing bolt, you can edit an existing bolt, you can add a new bolt to this database. When you write down a standard, so for example, if I knew the standard, so let me see, let's go down 6914, for example, if I'm at the top of the database, if I write this over here, if I say 6914, it will filter out only the 6914 bolts, so I can quickly now see them and see if I need to change anything in the 6914 standard. So this kind of acts like a filter. If I want to filter down only particular diameters, that one would come here. Only particular lengths would come here. So this is a quick and easy way to filter it out. Once you remove the filters, the entire list is displayed. And the same format basically applies for nuts. Nuts have their own standards. So let's just go down so one of the standards is 7968 for the nuts, for example. So if I were to just come in here and say 7968, my 7968 nuts will be shown on the screen. We've got a 12 millimeter, a 16, a 20, 22, 24, 27, and 30. I can modify any one of these, or I can add a new one. Similarly, the same would hold for the washers. I can filter them out, I can add some more. And by doing this, I'll be modifying the database. At the time when I press the close button, the databases will be modified. And once again, this modification will be done in your local model directory. And if you wanted this to be applicable, to be usable from any new model, then you would need to copy it to your cloned company environment.